Hello and welcome to Dateline New Haven on WNHH-FM, New Haven's home for community radio. I'm Paul Bass, inviting you to look behind the headlines on the stories that can make our community tick. Well, no one makes New Haven tick more than the team of street outreach workers who are every day working with people most at risk for violence, mentoring young people in trouble, and mediating disputes before they turn deadly. The man who oversees that team of 26 people has been doing it for decades. Jahad is here, the executive director of the Connecticut Violence Intervention Program. Thanks so much for coming in, Len. It's great to see you.
Absolutely, Paul. You know how we do. We go back decades with this thing.
We do, and I've seen your rise. And what's interesting, Len, is so you just passed a 5-year anniversary with your program, CTVIP, Violence Intervention Program, which is street outreach workers. A lot of them were in the life, and they know how to reach the kids. They're not cops, but you help everybody keep the peace. What's interesting to me is that headline isn't a big headline because it's not controversial anymore. And, you know, before your program, there was another street outreach program you were involved in. And when that started in the aughts, that was controversial. People thought, we can't have people who used to be in gang stuff or people who aren't cops talking to these people and getting their trust. And now it's not only a concept in New Haven, it's all over the country, and you guys have grown.
Yeah, not just regionally.
Come close to the mic. Yeah.
Not just regionally, but also nationwide. And so the street outreach worker name, they call them credible messengers now. People who have that message, you know, those who are in that life, you know, that can go places, you know, that you can't go, or even where I can't go, you know, who have a credible name in a community that expands decades. And, you know, when someone says their name, it resonates throughout the community that this person is official, they can be trusted, and they understand the factors that contribute to community violence. So again, their name resonates, and so, you know, we call them credible messengers now.
And I remember when it started, it was controversial back in the aughts. The idea was sort of, and it's true, anytime I start a program like that with people who used to be in the life, some of them are not going to turn out. Right? Most of them will, actually. It's surprising how great work they do. And I remember, I won't use a name, I remember there was 1 or 2 people who kind of got in trouble again. And it's also true that there are people who do, like you've never been in life, right? But you still reach people. So I guess it's not hard and fast, but there is something about having been on the street that gets people to listen to you, right?
Sure.
But why do they listen to you?
It takes a while, though. You know,
I remember that with you decades ago. People listen to you. Yeah.
It takes a while to be trusted, you know, to build a relationship, and then, you know, we sustain the relationship. So I was never in that life, but with my family, we always had people in our home, whether they were foster children or family that came up from the South. So we always opened up our home to people. And so even though I was not in that life, I was a football coach, I was a foster dad, and then, you know, I just got to be a trusted, you know, name and face in the community. But with that, it does take a while to build that, but it has to be sustained.
It's such an interesting concept now that it's not liberal or conservative or anything. Like all over the country, Chicago, I remember, went next, and they did 6 other, I think, programs where they realized that when there's youth violence and people aren't being reached, you really need help beyond just cops to get them. And now the cops got it. You work pretty closely with the cops, don't you?
Absolutely. We were one of the programs that were pretty much first in the nation that had relationships with the police, because we don't want to jeopardize our name saying that, you know, we're giving information to the police, but it's more one-sided. So the police will give us information, and it did take a while. It wasn't just, you know.
Well, I remember that at the beginning too, and it wasn't you. I remember there were police officers who didn't like the fact that outreach workers mediated truces where people would have died. Like we were thinking, wow. They got them like in the middle of the street and agreed not to shoot each other. I remember one day they had like a fist fight. And I did notice a change in how police interacted with this and trusted it. They thought like you guys are in the way and you're part of the bad guys at first. Right. Yeah. How did that change?
It did start from the top. There was a change, I would say about 2011 when Dean Esserman came in. Dean Esserman made it a mandate that the police officers would be collaborative. Well, the whole police force would be collaborative and nice, you know, to people. Now, he wasn't always that nice to people, but he demanded that his police were nice and polite.
That's
and
an understatement. Now I see how you do this mediation thing.
Absolutely.
You got an understatement. Yeah.
Absolutely. Dean Esserman, he brought it in, brought community policing back to the forefront, you know, and even with CompStat, it brought everyone in the same room. So we talked and we shared
I
information.
remember
in
seeing
the
you started,
meetings.
and that's the weekly data sharing group with the where the cops say, "What are the trends? Who's doing what? Or what are we after?" And he opened that up not just to you, but to social workers, healthcare places, hospital.
Absolutely.
And that was has that stayed? Do you still go to CompStat?
Yes.
Was that through, or was there ever an interruption?
Well, there was a little. I would say like during COVID, we stopped meeting in person. We did a little bit more remotely. It didn't have that same feel, So they're bringing it back now. They meet every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm. And we're talking Len Jahad, Executive Director of Connecticut Violence Intervention Program, what we used to call street outreach workers, and I just learned this morning from Len. We call them now credible messengers. Len, what's happening on the street right now? We always have dips and turns in how much violence there is. What's up with violence, youth violence in New Haven now?
Tide ebbs and flows. Usually around the holidays, November, December, there's an uptick in community violence. There's a lull right after the holidays, and it picks up as soon as the weather gets warm again. So right now, everything's pretty much at a lull. There were two instances that came up over the last week. It looks like they were accidental, and one was self-inflicted. That
well, the 8-year-old, that was sad. Was it accidental? How do we know that?
We don't know yet. The police are still investigating. But the last word that I got is that they're still investigating, but it did not look like it was intentional.
And there was a gun in the house, and there was a 14-year-old boy and an 8-year-old boy, right?
Yes.
Did you know the 14-year-old boy? Is it someone?
Yes. Actually, I think he's 15.
Mm-hmm.
There was a 15-year-old young man in the house who was in our program, and he was seen by one of our credible messengers. He ended up going to detention. So when
was that? Be after the shooting?
No. He went to detention. I believe it was last fall. And then when he went to detention, we lost him. We didn't know when he was getting back out, so we lost him. I didn't know if he was going to be, back in our program or what. He was referred by juvenile probation to us.
And what, was it his gun?
We don't know that yet. Well, that information, I don't have that information yet.
So do you get involved in this case or not yet?
We don't really get involved in the case.
I don't know why you would, because your case is really about stuff happening in the community that could be fights, right?
Correct. But if it looks like it's going to be some type of retaliation or even trauma, we work with youth, in dealing with their trauma and, depression, anxiety, and we partner with people in the community like Hill Health Center and also Clifford Beer. So we don't have anyone in-house that does that type of clinical support, but we farm it out.
So then you were talking about ebbs and flows on an annual cycle. There's also ebbs and flows in terms of there were periods like in the 90s when the drug gangs were huge, when crack hit, right? Late 80s, early 90s. During the pandemic, there was this rash of like youth crime, stolen cars. At different times, there's success like in the later in the 90s when they put all the drug gangs away, then they came back a decade later. What's the biggest trend now? Are there a lot of youth gangs that are causing trouble? Are they not gangs? Are they like affiliations? Like, what's it like to be growing up now as a teenager and someone in their 20s in the neighborhoods you're working in?
New Haven does not have traditional gangs. So we don't have Bloods or Crips or Gangster Disciples, gangs, people from national calling shots in New Haven. That's really not happening.
Was it happening before?
Yes, at different times it was. It
like
didn't
was
last.
R2 the Crips?
R2 was the Bloods.
Oh, the Bloods.
Yeah.
So we had Bloods and Crips here in the R2 thing, which was a decade ago.
Yeah, but they were so loose. So we call them groups because, like, with a gang, there's hierarchy. It's a blood in, blood out concept. Really in New Haven, there's no hierarchy. It's just a crew of people that are doing things.
And aren't the crews different at different times? Like
yes.
Sometimes weren't they like criminal organizations
Absolutely.
doing holdups of drug, and other
Yes.
times aren't they just getting in fights about what they say about their girlfriend on the web?
Absolutely.
Or is it more always both? I mean, what?
Right now, it's more individual, rather than groups. So it's people that have conflict, usually it's through social media. They can't solve the conflict, and then other people are brought in on it. So
Like I remember last year was
situational.
that one case by Goff Street, right?
Mm-hmm.
And wasn't that like about a dog or something?
Yeah. Some guys they stole a car with a dog in it. They made an agreement that they were going to sell the dog and split the money. Then one of the guys got the idea: if I hide the dog and act like it was stolen, I can keep all the money. And then it just got to be disrespectful. And then they just one-upped each other with the disrespect, and then which led to the homicide of the young man on Gulf Street.
So what was your role in something like that? What did CTVIP do on that? Did you help find out? Were you the ones who found out that was happening, or was the
Yes.
homicide detective? You tell the homicide detectives?
Yeah, but kind of both.
So what happened there?
So with that situation, I actually heard the gunshots. I was at my sister's house, and I heard the gunshots, and during a police meeting the following day, I said there were 60 shots that went off in Rockview. He said no, it was 80. So that crew had gone over there, found out where the dog was, and they shot the house up.
And they killed someone in the process?
No. But that's what
So
started.
that's the shots you heard?
Correct.
So you knew there was a beef on?
Absolutely.
So what did you guys do?
Yep. So we tried to get in front of it as much as we could, and we did, because there was a lull. That was last spring. And so we worked with both sides, to talk them down and everything. And they did. They kept their commitment. They kept their promise. However, someone posted a video, really, really disrespectful
How much
video.
longer later?
That was like leading up to the homicide. That was like November.
Mm-hmm.
And someone posted a video which was very, very disrespectful.
Like what did it do?
There was a grave of a young man, and someone, I don't know if they actually urinated on the grave or pretend to urinate on the grave, and which was really disrespectful, spitting on the grave, that type of thing, which caused that level of disrespect. That was it. Then it was on. So before we could get ahead of it, there were gunshots.
And then someone died. Then what happened after? Right. Were you able to put a stop to it?
Absolutely.
How'd you do that?
Yep. So we went right back at it again. And we talked to the young men, and then someone did something else disrespectful. They actually, right now with youth, they post up at McDonald's on Whaley Avenue. Before, they used to go downtown and meet up after school when the buses were free. The buses are no longer free, so they were meeting at McDonald's on Whaley Avenue. So we would have a couple of our workers go to McDonald's at the let out, Hill House, Troop, Amistad. The kids would go there, they would hang out. They had free Wi-Fi. Even the owner, he would allow the kids to have free drinks also. So the kids would meet up at the McDonald's. And so what we discovered is one of the crews, when a couple of men in the crew, they came by, saw it was safe, and they brandished handguns. And they went live on Instagram, I believe, and said, we're here if you want us, we're here at McDonald's. And then they went to Hill House and did the same thing. And then later on that night, another young man was killed.
Ooh, and did you see those videos later? Or?
Yes.
So you weren't able to stop it there?
We weren't able to stop it. And actually, the police had a video, and, and we were actually at McDonald's, so we chased the guys away. So perhaps, I just say perhaps, if there was communication with the police, which we do have, we could have perhaps, got in front of that one, but it happened too quickly.
Mm-hmm. But often it does. We're talking Len Jahad of Connecticut Violence Intervention Program. So there was a street outreach program. I'm trying to remember, was it like 07, 08 that it started? Community Foundation funded. It was at Science Park. It kind of felt, you ended up working there. You were you had a leadership position there. You managed in 2015. Above your head, stuff fell apart, but you worked with the city to make sure we still had street outreach workers. You created this new organization in late 2018. It's been 5 years, and now it's going well. Tell me a story where you did prevent someone from dying.
Yeah, there's so many.
I know it's like every day and you can't prove it. Yeah.
Yeah. It's hard to prove what doesn't happen.
We're recently talking about something that could have potentially. I don't mean names. I just mean like.
Yeah. Well, I'll say this. We traditionally work with youth ages 13 to 24, and now we're getting referrals from the police. We're getting referrals from juvenile probation of young people as young as 11. And we weren't really trained, to work with 11-year-olds, because when we first got the referrals, I'm like,
when did that happen?
This was maybe about a year and a half, 2 years ago. Mm-hmm. I said, well, like as far as maturity levels, we're really not trained or equipped to work with an 11-year-old. 13 was, basically the lowest. And I like, what am I supposed to do? Put him in the naughty corner or give him a timeout? I don't know what to do with an 11-year-old, but we did have to change pretty quickly. We did train, our credible messengers in that. So right about that time, the Kia boys had really picked up. So it's the Kia boys,
stealing the cars. It's a national thing. And the New Haven ones, a lot of them come from Bridgeport, right?
They came from Bridgeport, but nationally they came from Milwaukee. And so we.
But is it a formal thing, or is it just they watch the videos and then
they just watch the videos? Nothing formal.
Yes, I thought
they just put posts up on Instagram, and so we made a trip actually out to Milwaukee to see how it started, to see the trends and everything else with a crew out there that's similarly situated to ours, 414 Life. And actually, they're coming to New Haven Friday. We're going to host a site visit for them also. But they told us the trends, when it's going to spike, when there's a lull and things like that. And they said, unfortunately, Gary, Indiana, I think Little Rock and some other places had experienced, a downturn in stolen cars when a youth was actually killed. So we work with the Kia boys, the Kia girls, and we gotten calls actually with kids that were in the car said, listen, I don't want to be here. Can you come get me? Because of our relationships, because we talk to them.
So they're New Haveners in the Kia boys and Kia girls.
Correct. Right.
So you've had cases where you've gone and gotten them?
Absolutely.
What happened? Like what exactly happened?
The kids they'll just call us or text us. They'll say, listen, I'm in this car. I feel something bad is about to happen. Can you come get me?
So did you actually stop the car?
Yes.
Or did you have police do it, or you?
No, they actually got out the car. They just said, listen, can you pull over? And they got out the car and didn't get back in.
But I mean, you were the ones who made the pullover, not the police?
No, we actually didn't do the pullover. The kids were able to get out of the car.
So what was your role?
So that was it. We just went and got them, kept them in a safe space, and then talked to their friends, to try to talk them down also, because the kids aren't doing a lot of shooting, but they're getting in a lot of car accidents, with stolen cars, with car chases.
When was that case?
There's been multiple.
Like how recently?
I would say it was cold, so I would say December, January.
Oh, so just recently?
Absolutely.
Where someone called, you said, I want to get out of this car. You told them we'll come pick you up. And
Multiple
then you got
times.
them, and then you also talked to the other people.
That's right.
And you think it might have stopped a conflagration.
Yep.
So what's up with the car theft? It is pretty high. Is it fair to say that homicide is down and shootings, but car theft is up? Is that
Car
accurate?
thefts are actually down.
Oh, okay.
Car thefts are down.
But they got high in the pandemic.
Yes, they did during the pandemic. But the youth were targeted. They were saying it's the youth. Most of the people that were stealing cars were actually adults.
Oh, okay.
But the youth are easy targets. So they would say it's the kids.
And what's brought it down?
I would say some safety protocols that were put in with the Kia and Hyundai. The police did a good job also giving clubs, and people have done better also. Parking their cars, not leaving their cars running. In the wintertime, getting anti-theft, devices in their cars.
Mm-hmm.
So that definitely has led to a downturn in the amount of stolen cars.
Len, is there a day you'll never forget running CTV IP that stays with you?
So many. I would say the incidents going to the hospital after community violence.
So you guys always go to the hospital when someone gets shot?
Yes.
Tell me about one incident that you'll remember going to the hospital.
It was one night. Well, give you two real quick. We went to the hospital. A young man was shot. We went to the hospital. We talked. We went in the back. We talked to him. We talked him down because at that moment they want to either change their lives or they want to retaliate. So we talked to him. We felt he was in a good place. We're about to leave, and the hospital said, "Don't go. 2 more people have gotten shot in Ansonia." And so, because New Haven is a level 1, Yale New Haven Hospital is a level 1 trauma center. So if you get shot, and there's an opportunity, you come to Yale New Haven Hospital. So we saw the 2 people from Ansonia. They're like, "Don't go anywhere. Someone else just got shot on Munson Street." So we got there about 5:30 that afternoon. We didn't leave the hospital till 5 o'clock in the morning. In totality, 6 people were shot and 2 were killed. And so we actually had.
And was it all related, New Haven and Ansonia?
No, it wasn't related. It was
all
just a bad day. Yes.
What was going on?
We don't know. It didn't seem like anything was related. No.
When was that?
That was, I think it was 2019.
And can you think of a time at the hospital in the last couple of years where something interesting happened beyond that was different or that made a real difference? So I know sometimes lots of people come to the hospital and they want.
Yeah, we had one singular shooting. It was multiple people shot. 6 people were shot and 2 were killed on one night. Someone just started spraying into a crowd.
When was that?
I think that was either 2018 or 2019. 2019, we actually made 90 plus visits to the hospital after community violence. It was a lot. We were rocking and rolling almost, a few times a week, that year. Yeah.
I'm sorry, how many did you say that year?
90 plus visits.
And how much did you make in the last year? 2024.
We don't have a formal relationship with the hospital anymore, but if we hear about something and the person has high notoriety in the community where we know people are going to come down, a lot of people, then we'll go.
Is there less shooting than there was in 2019?
Absolutely. Yep. Less shots fired, less homicides definitely, and less non-fatal shootings.
We're talking to Len Jahad, at executive CTVIP. Why'd you get into this work, Len? So you grew up in New Haven or
Hamden?
Grew up in Hamden.
Yes.
And did you grow up wanting to be in helping the community? What was your goal when you were growing up?
Growing up, I always wanted to help someone because that was like the family business. We just help folks. But while I was in college, I made the transition from wanting to be an accountant to wanting to work in law enforcement, and so I applied for Department of Corrections, New Haven Police, Stanford Police, State Police. Corrections snatched me up, and I was able to do my homework, while I was working in the jail, finishing my last year. So that was 1990.
That's where I met you in the 90s.
Yes.
Was it Somers or Cheshire?
That was a Cheshire.
You were a corrections officer there. I remember you carried a lot of people there. That's how I met you.
Yep, and counselor, correctional counselor.
And then you made a transition to become probation. You were the head of New Haven Adult Probation. Why did that happen? How?
I did a pilot program in my 9th year in Department of Corrections, working in the community. And I said, I want to work. I'm going to try to get ahead of it. And so probation was hiring. I applied for probation. And then I was hired and assigned to the New Haven probation office.
And then you were the chief of the office, right?
Correct. I retired as chief in 2015. And we did 2 successful pilot programs, the Raise the Age Youthful Offender pilot in 2006, 2007, and also a violent offender unit, to combat or to address the violence in 2011, where we had 35 homicides. Yep. So we started that unit. Yeah.
So now at CTVIP, you started with 4 people. Now you have 26. You have your headquarters in Ashman Street.
Correct.
Nice place.
Yes.
So what do these 26 people do, and who are they?
So we started with just one program. It was a street outreach worker program at the time. And then we have a violence intervention program with part-timers. We also do juvenile review board in Hamden.
Oh, okay. And
we have a program to address the young ladies that are doing a lot of the fighting in the community called Makerspace. And we're in the public schools addressing the 7th and 8th grade girls in a group setting. And then we take some of those girls and, with more acute, aggression, on caseloads with us.
Mm-hmm. That's in Hamden schools.
That's Hamden and New Haven.
So you work in both school systems.
Correct. We're in 13 middle schools.
Oh, okay. Is that mostly for girls or no?
That's for girls, but we're starting a Make His Space for 9th and 10th grade boys.
Oh, Make Her HER space.
Yeah,
that's
Make
clever.
Her. Yes.
And are most of these people, the 26, so some are part-time, some are full?
Correct.
Are they most people who have been incarcerated at some point in their life?
Some.
Not all.
Yep. And then we also have some educated professionals. Not saying that they're not educated professionals, but people
who haven't been in.
Correct. Right. I have a couple retired correction officers. I have a retired principal who's leading our Makerspace program. Val Jean Belton.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, from Co-op.
Yeah.
Yep. So she's doing amazing work with us also. She's helped us formulate the program. We talked about it. And then I said, you have to come off the sidelines and help us now.
Well, you are doing God's work, Len. We talked before, and you've had 12 foster kids?
Yes, I've had 12.
And just your own daughters. That's really remarkable. Yeah. And you've worked in the Freddie Fixer Board, Boys and Girls Club, Voices for Children, and you work on antique muscle cars and Bikram yoga.
Yes, I got to get back into Bikram yoga right next door here.
Well, how do you kind of decompress from this stuff when you're dealing with so much intensity?
I don't know. It doesn't really feel like work. I set my office up, almost kind of like my living room. So just being at work doesn't feel like work, but I really, really like the work that we do. So it's not really, like a task.
What does it feel like?
We even have a garden outside. I just put my headphones on and I work in our garden outside also.
What does it feel like if it doesn't feel like work? Does it feel like a calling? Does it feel like a reason to be alive?
It's definitely a calling. I get away to refresh, and then I come right back, and I'm right back at it. But that's the fun part. The executive director part. Well, I'm CEO now.
Are you CEO is your title?
Yes. But writing grants and things like that, that's the part that's not as much fun. I really like the one-on-one.
Do you still get to do a lot of one-on-one?
Not as much. Usually I'm up in my ivory tower, leading the program, just evidence-based practices, trying to just find, new programs, just new ways to expand the program and make our program better.
And this week you're hosting the crew from Milwaukee.
Yes.
414 Life.
414 Life. So that's the area code for Milwaukee, 414.
And you're hoping to just share more information about what you guys are each doing?
Absolutely.
And you had gone there to learn about the Kia Boys.
Correct.
What else is new? What do you got coming up?
That's it. We're just really looking to expand the program to touch more youth.
What's the need now you're identifying?
Well, when we started the program, our ratio of case manager or street outreach worker to youth was like 25 to 1. Mm-hmm. So we weren't as effective as we could be. But now we're at a more suitable 12 to 1.
Mm-hmm.
So, but in working with youth, sometimes our funders don't understand that it takes a while. So they don't see they want to see more turnover with the youth. Like juvenile probation, they'll say like, okay, this kid's off probation, you can close them out. I said, we can't close them out. If we close them out, you may see them again. So the average time of working with youth is actually 2 to 3 years.
So is the idea you basically looking to get more money so you can have a better ratio?
That's right.
And be with them longer.
Correct.
Well, good luck. We're all for you now.
Great.
In New Haven.
Absolutely.
You guys aren't controversial. You're doing God's work. Len Jahad, 5 good years, going strong. Can I get VIP on to the next 5?
That's right. Absolutely.
All
and
right.
beyond.
Well, thanks for joining us, Len, and keep up the work, keeping everybody safe.
Thank you, Paul, for everything you do.
And thanks to Harry Drost working the controls. We're going to take it out with the Afro-Semitic Experience performing I Wish I Knew How It'd Feel to Be Free from the group CD, A Plea for Peace. This is Paul Bass inviting you to fly free with us all day and all night long at WNHH, New Haven's home for community radio.